Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is my congressman, my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
It's time to litigate something very important and something we've never talked about. What is Tom Hanks's scummiest role? It's time to finally talk about it, and we're going to talk about it because we're talking Charlie Wilson's War, the final Mike Nichols film, obviously final Mike Nichols film in our series. Sad, Ryan. It's been a good ride.
Yeah, man, this has been a really fun series to start off the year, and I mean, you have literally thrown right in the biggest hypothetical I wanted to ask you up at the top, which, I mean, I don't want to go into a full Hanks tangent because I'm sure we will go into a full Hanks tangent at a certain point, but I mean, this is probably in the Mount Rushmore of scummiest guys, right? Because he's playing a congressman, but I don't know. He's kind of like a congressman with a heart of gold, you know, because it's Aaron Sorkin.
If we're talking the scummiest role he's ever played, it's the mobster in Cloud Atlas, of course.
Oh, well, yeah, that, you know.
But as far as a full movie as a character,
I would put up his performance, his character in here. He's a real shitbag.
Depends what you think about Walt Disney, I suppose.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, what do you think of Larry Crown? You know, it's no one that happy. You know what I mean?
It is.
And not in this world. I'll tell you that.
I am pretty certain I have seen that movie and I remember absolutely nothing about it.
I mean, the answer is Colonel Tom Parker, because Colonel Tom Parker is a big piece of shit.
He's a vampire.
Yeah. I'd also say like his character in Splash is kind of a creep. Just that movie hasn't aged particularly well. It's a good movie, but it's like when you watch it back, you're like, oh, kind of a scumbucket.
Is it good? It's
fine. All right. Yeah, it's fine. You know what I mean?
I haven't seen Bachelor Party. I assume that's sort of a dated representation of masculinity.
You know who actually is a real scumbag? Woody in Toy Story 1. He's a little jerk.
You know that when that movie was first screened, Woody was so off-putting they basically had to go back and do it all over again.
He was actually Chucky in that movie. He killed Buzz.
And no, that is true. Yeah. He was like annoying that people were like, this Pixar was truly. They said, and I mean, we gotta adjust.
And I mean, if you got Tom Hanks doing that, and they're saying Tom Hanks is annoying.
I mean, Woody is annoying. Still.
He isn't annoying. Well, yeah, but he's Woody.
Toy Story 4. I mean, he's not that annoying, but
no, he's that's a good movie. I'm not gonna.
It is a good movie.
I'm not gonna hear any slander from you about it, or from really anybody. There's not a bad Toy Story movie.
I have come around on it fully. I always thought it was pretty good, but far and away the worst. And now I'm like, it belongs in.
What is the worst Toy Story movie?
Order them however you want. There's no wrong answer.
Maybe we can ask our guest here, who's a film critic, podcaster extraordinaire, sexiest man alive. It's Tom O'Brien from Next Best Picture. Tom, what's the best? Rank the Toy Story movies, Tom. One Tom to another.
One Tom to another. Toy Story 3
is the best?
Great. I think so. But Toy Story 2 always makes me cry. You know, that song.
When She Loved Me?
Mm-hmm. When She Loved Me, kills me every time. And Jay, I'm with you. I was kind of surprised that Toy Story 4 held up okay.
Yeah.
Because when they announced it, it's sort of like, no, leave it alone. But, you know, they still pulled it off.
Yeah. I mean, Toy Story 4 is a movie about grappling with your relationship with God. So
trash.
It is very interesting. And Forky, let me tell you, 2-year-old father of a 2-year-old over here, kids cannot get enough of Forky.
Forky's a good one. Yeah.
It's insane. They merchandising wise, they knocked it out of the park with Forky.
They know what they're doing. JD, what's your ranking, Jay?
Mine actually, honestly, I still think 4 is probably my least favorite, but I would probably go 3, 2, 1, 4. I think they're all very good.
I go 2, 3, 4, 1. I think 1 is
one last, but there's just the nostalgic element of it. That,
I know, I get it, but like
hard to overcome.
But also too, like I don't know, they kind of got the formula really good, and then the fourth one, it gets me really emotional.
I mean, the first one, you go back and watch it, and you do think this does not look particularly good.
No, it's not a very
No, it
good looking
doesn't.
movie either.
You
But
know,
like, I think
like,
two is like 80, 89 minutes and it's perfect. It's like a
yeah.
perfect movie. It's like,
Well, Toy
you know,
Story 2, the story on that one was that it was supposed to be direct to video. And what's his name? The old head of Pixar. What's his name?
Lasseter,
Lasseter. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lasseter was like,
lots of hugs.
you will not tarnish my series. We are going to work these animators to the bone to get this out in a at a reasonable date that you will be satisfied with. And so they did. And
The Disney Pixar way.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know. Sometimes it
Nobody
works
gets
out.
treated better than like graphic animators.
Yeah, I mean, like, just ask all the people that work on a Marvel movie in the special effects department, because I'm sure those people, they really love the job that they're doing on Captain America: Brave New World and the Thunderbolts. You know,
And they love the pushback on the
oh, they
unionization that they're
love the
trying to
pushback.
do.
Oh, yeah.
It's going great for them.
Oh man, this is
Yeah.
a rousing start to this episode that you
Yeah.
provided,
No.
Jay.
Right.
It's real cynical right up at the top.
This movie has the most CGI of any Mike Nichols movie,
Does it?
surely,
When?
than the helicopter scenes.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably
Yep.
true.
Yep.
And you can tell it's kind of rough.
I don't think there was that
not-
much CGI in Closer.
Well, in the strip club, you know what I
We'll
mean?
leave people's bodies out of it.
Yeah, we'll leave it up to their imagination.
Yeah.
What was real and what's fake. Tom, again, I don't know how we ask people to come on this show sometimes. I really don't. Tom, before we get into Charlie Wilson's War, I want to ask your thoughts on the great Mike Nichols and
Oh,
and him as a filmmaker and what you love about him, and what intrigues you or makes you go back to his films throughout his really eclectic, interesting, celebrated filmography.
Mike Nichols' films had a huge effect on my life early on. Uh, Let Grandpa take you back in the Wayback Machine to 1966. And Whirling Lights.
Yeah.
Um, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf came out, and people may not. This was considered a shocking movie back then. I mean, Warner Brothers was really scared of it, and it was before the rating system. But they said no one under 18 admitted. Now this seems like kind of a joke, but
It is crazy going back and
Yeah.
looking at it. Yeah.
But back then, they had guards at the initial screenings of the initial first run of those. And I was scared to death because I was 15 at the time. And I said, I got to see this movie. I have to figure out how to see this movie. And so the opportunity came. My grandmother and my aunt said, we're going to take a trip to Atlantic City. Does any of the kids want to come? And I said, I do. And we hopped in the car and went down to Atlantic City for a few days on the boardwalk. And Virginia Woolf was playing there. So I said to my Nana, there's this movie. I don't feel like going to the movies today. You want to go? And he said, what's this about? And I said, Virginia Woolf. She's a very famous poet. And yes, oh, that sounds very nice. So Nana took me. We got past the guard. And I saw this and my jaw dropped and her jaw dropped. And as we were walking out of the theater, she said to me, do you not ever tell your mother that I took you to this? My Nana was my enabler in movies. At age seven, I talked her into taking me to Butterfield 8.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
that's a great asset to have.
Yeah. Well, I told her
Jesus.
Eddie Fisher was in it, so she thought it was a musical. But
Really?
I knew Elizabeth Taylor was going to win the Oscar, and even at age 7, I was
He knew.
obsessed with stuff. I knew. I
knew.
was like, when I was a kid, I would go to swim lessons at the Y downtown, and then after swim lessons, people would go to pick up things and stuff like that. I would go across the street to the newsstand to buy Weekly Variety. That's how pathetic a kid I was. But I was doomed. I was doomed into this life. And here
Back
we
when
are.
that was a real publication.
Yes. Yeah. You could smear it on your hands.
Yeah.
But The same thing happened with The Graduate. I talked a friend of mine into driving me to New Haven where it was playing because I figured it would never make my town. And he said, "I'm going to go to New Haven for this." I said, "Well, you want to go to the movies? This is a nice thing." So I was enabled for my first two Mike Nichols movies until I got to college and could really see them for myself.
Tom, can I ask you a question about
Sure.
that since you remember most of these movies coming out in the theaters? Was it as really as nuts as we talked about with Carnal Knowledge with that
Yeah.
film? Was it,
Ye- Yeah. People didn't know what to make of it. It
yeah,
wasn't that it was shocking, but it was people were puzzled by it
mm,
more than anything else.
okay.
But it was a bit of a deal. I remember when it opened in New York at Cinema One, which is the prestige theater in New York at the time. And they had think pieces on the news about it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was that kind of cultural, story that kind of transcended the entertainment pages. So yeah, it was kind of a big deal then.
CJ, we don't need you here. We have Tom here on this episode, so we
Yeah.
don't need any of your
All the
fucking
context.
research.
Yeah. It remains
Yeah,
insane that The Graduate was the highest grossing movie of its year.
that is
Just
insane.
It's
crazy.
yeah,
Given what that movie is about during that time period, that is an insane thing, but it's also kind of rad. Uh,
it's you stop and think of having a movie like that be the number one film of the year, and you know what the number one films we're having now. You know, it just is. It's another
what's
era.
the equivalent of that now? Like, what would be the equivalent of kind of a movie like that being the number one movie in the world?
I mean, the closest thing is Oppenheimer. It wasn't number one,
Well, no, but
but
like I'm
it was an
talking like there's,
R-rated movie for grown-ups.
yeah, I guess so. But like the shock value of that as well too, like the shocking
Oh,
nature of it with mixed with taboo
well, yeah,
subject
that would be
matter.
like if Titan was the highest grossing movie of its
Yeah,
year. That's
I was gonna say like poor things, but like okay, sure, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
probably so.
You know,
Holy hell, could you imagine if Titan was like made that made decent money, right? Like it didn't make like a crap ton, but like
It
yeah.
made good money for what it was.
Yeah,
it's
Neon
crazy.
was very smart. They opened it wide.
Yeah,
You know, they had a
exactly.
couple of really good weeks before people realized that
I
she
feel
was.
like they could have marketed that well, like done it at like car shows and stuff. Like got Titan sponsored at the Indy 500. They really dropped the ball. You know what I mean? Anyway,
God, Virginia Woolf was number 3 of its year. This
yeah,
is
this is
Yeah,
crazy.
it was
It's.
again. That
I
was a
think we
phenomenon.
were Tom. You could say this probably better, and maybe this is just the cynical persons in all of us now. Probably audiences were a little bit smarter back then, a little bit more curious, right? Because
yeah.
now I feel like now it's hard to see people being adults and making the right choices to go to movies anymore on a mass wide spectrum of things. Because now everybody wants to go see the Marvel movies or
They
the
want to see him
select.
in the theater. I like to think
Yeah,
that people are a little more curious about watching some stuff at home
yeah,
without the Marvel movies being appointment viewing, but
yeah. But then you
definitely
see what is
we
number
have
one.
some adult viewers stuck in adolescence for sure.
I
No
don't
doubt
know, Jay.
about
We see those people that we see what number one or top 10 is on Netflix or these streaming services. It's not always usually the most intellectually stimulating pieces of
it. I
entertainment.
mean, it's not. No
Like
doubt
you're
about
not
it.
seeing May December up there in the top 10. You know what I mean?
Was it
That,
never?
I don't think so.
No,
No,
I don't
not
know.
even.
they'll
Tom's
spend.
like, no, dummy. You know what I mean? Like, it
No,
didn't happen.
you know, even that Netflix's big, like Amelia Perez was in the top 10 for a day or two,
Yeah.
and then that was, all their big splashes don't really register on the site.
But look,
Yeah.
they weren't knocking it out of the park every year. I'm just going through here. Billy Jack, number 1 in 1971.
Oh, Billy Jack. My
Oh,
Don't know
dad
that
saw
that's
Billy Jack
aged
in
particularly
theaters.
well.
Yeah.
I
But
just go berserk.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a wild movie to be number one. Anyway,
that was a huge
it's a huge hit.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it was a middle America hit. It was not a city. It didn't. New York
It
didn't
wasn't the
corral
same
that.
crowd as The Graduate.
No.
No. Well, we're here to talk about Charlie Wilson's War, which is
Movie
the
that
last
came out a mere 40 years after The Graduate.
exactly in a mere 18 years ago. Jay, last film in our series, so we don't have, and we didn't have anything in between. He went from closer
Yeah.
to this. And this is his last film in a big year. Tom talks about a lot of moments in his life early and what Mike Nichols means to him. This was, for all intents and purposes, probably the biggest year for Jay and my generation in terms of a lot of people that love cinema. 2007. If not 1999, it's definitely 2007. A phenomenal year of cinema, and Mike Nichols had his last movie released during then. So, Tom, I'm going to kick it over to you, and I'm going to ask you about Charlie Wilson's War. And I know you've seen this before. I mean, we all have. So, what do you think about this picture from Mike Nichols?
It's an interesting final film, and I think it's an honorable final film.
Mhm.
Uh, I know that the circumstances of this were a little odd in terms of where Nichols was at that point, because he was coming off winning an Emmy for Angels in America, and then Closer was a big hit given the small budget it had. It did over $100 million,
Hmm.
and then he won the Tony for Spamalot, and then the phone stopped ringing, and which is just crazy to
That's
think about.
crazy. Why wouldn't they want like to keep it rolling at that
Yeah,
point?
yeah. And from what I understand, this is the first time he was ever hired as a director for hire. He was a hired gun. Hanks wanted to do this film, and he wanted to do it with
Hmm.
him. And it wasn't. It didn't. And the Aaron Sorkin script was, being sort of getting some notice because it was political. And so Nichols hopped on board. But apparently, production started very quickly after he signed on. And he wasn't in the great shape health-wise. So the first part of production was the Morocco scenes. And he apparently got
Yeah.
very, very bronchially, ill from all of that dust and the like. And I mean, he was having problems bronchially at this time anyway because of the smoking. But that even watching it back now, the all the Morocco scenes seem pretty rough.
Hmm.
Um, and it really isn't until we get into the interior scenes with Hanks and Roberts and Hoffman that the film really clicks. But when it does, it really does feel like a Mike Nichols film. And in that sense, it is an honorable end to the various kinds of actor-driven, script-driven, um, masterworks that he's done in the past. And to see him so ably, as always, direct movie stars it was a joy to watch. He has a particular skill in being able to take people who have larger than life personalities and fitting them into solid stories.
He really does. Jay, this is the first time in the series, well, we've talked about a lot of these films. This is the first time we've talked about really a Nichols political film. Like, I mean, socially speaking,
I
Silkwood
mean,
is,
is it? I
kind of silk. I mean, it is. I mean, like, in
Catch
terms of the
22.
Catch 22, well, I'm talking about in a full review, buddy.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
on
You
a
know what I
full
mean?
review. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
Catch 22, we didn't do an episode on, and Biloxi Blues, we
Correct.
didn't do one either. And
Primary
so,
colors.
well, I guess
Well,
we did do
primary
primary
colors.
colors. Yeah.
We
Well,
sure did. I would call
yeah.
that a political film in a lot
Yeah,
of
that's
ways,
true. I just kind of completely forgot about that movie because that movie is completely
as did
forgettable.
much of America,
Yeah.
my friend.
Yeah,
Yes.
So,
yes, that's fair right there. Um, but Tom's absolutely right. This guy is at the height of his careers in that early 2000s, and then the phone stops ringing, which is weirdly kind of interesting, juxtaposing to where we find Charlie Wilson at the end of the film.
Yeah.
And so I kind of found that to be a little bit more poetic this go around. But Jay, I got to ask you, was this the first time watch for you, Jay?
no, I'd seen this before.
Okay, I kind of figured that you had,
Yeah.
being a Hanks guy,
Hanks
and
guy, always at least interested in Sorkin
yeah,
without necessarily being his
his
biggest
guy.
cheerleader.
We'll talk about him.
Yeah.
Jay, thoughts on Charlie Wilson's War?
Yeah, Charlie Wilson's War is a film with high highs and tedious lows for me. I do not know entirely what it amounts to. I find the final quote card at the end about we did all this and then we screwed it up as sort of cheap in the context of this movie that does end as a celebration, and in my opinion, doesn't feel like an ironic celebration of Charlie Wilson's efforts trying to end the Soviet Union, basically, is what he's trying to do. But really, all it did was completely throw the Middle East into chaos. And the original ending of this film, Ryan, do you know what the ending of this film was supposed to be if Mike Nichols had his way?
Oh, I, the way you kind of set that up there is not really good. So I'm assuming this is probably not good. But no, I don't know what it is, Jay. Could you tell the listeners how it was supposed to end if Mike
They were
Nichols
going to
had his
pull
way?
a Remember Me. They were going to do it.
It,
Um, the whole movie, apparently, there was this motif of Charlie Wilson's office looked out onto the Pentagon. And the end of the film was going to be Charlie Wilson looking out at the Pentagon on fire on September 11th,
yep.
which would have been a heck of a thing.
Well, it kind of makes sense though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because not to jump ahead to
Well, it
my
is. I mean,
thoughts,
that is
but
making the subtext text, certainly.
I mean that, but also like Nichols has, we've documented this well. He has been the guy that has like been, you got to be quicker than that. Like, you know what I mean? In terms of getting to political messages or just missing, before
Yeah. Catch 22 got mashed.
you know what I mean?
Biloxi
Mhm.
Blues got Full Metal Jacketed.
Exactly. And so like this is right at the time where everybody's making a 9/11 movie. We're already past the point of Tiger Cruise and we're to the point of World Trade Center and United 93 and all those films already coming out. Rendition, all these other, the Lions for Lambs is I believe this year or the year before. So like we are in the full on Hollywood has to have a fucking stance on 9/11 at this point. And so it would make total sense for Mike Nichols to want to put his
I mean,
opinion on
that is
9/11 out there. Yeah.
the implication of the movie.
Oh no,
even
it
if you don't
totally is.
show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to Tom's point, like the reason why anybody was interested is you got the guy who wrote The West Wing and A Few Good Men working with Mike Nichols, making a political movie that's tying in covert wars with Afghanistan and the Russians, and trying to relate it back to now. Why would you make a movie like that if you're not trying to do a sort of like wink wink to the covert wars and the how we got here in the first place kind of shit
Yeah,
of
and that's
modern
how
politics.
that's how Sorkin has structured this. It inevitably leads to that by having the Soviets driven out by the mujahideen, there created a leadership vacuum there that
Hmm.
someone like bin Laden can walk right into.
It's the
And
conversation with Gust at the end of the film on the terrace.
yes, exactly. We'll see, as Gust says. And apparently, Nichols and Sorkin were fighting for the 9/11 ending,
Of course
but
they were.
Yes.
but
Yeah. Hanks didn't want
Didn't
it.
want
Yeah.
it.
No shit.
And the
I would
studio.
I bet.
It was
I
Hanks in
bet.
the studio versus Nichols.
I would
Yeah.
say
Yeah,
Tom won that one. And I think that
yeah,
that's a good thing
yeah.
because now we would
But
be
it isn't.
talking.
But I mean, that would at least make the movie more memorable. I don't find this film particularly memorable, except for one thing. Philip Seymour Hoffman is throwing 120 miles an hour in every scene he is in this movie. And it is absolutely electric. Um, and then there are other scenes where I'm like, Charlie Wilson's Boar, more like it. Um, but it's a very interesting movie. What is this movie about? And Ryan, obviously, you haven't given your general thoughts, but if this movie is
Yeah.
about anything, I think it is about the false ambition of idealism, I guess, which is obviously Sorkin's whole thing is idealism. And here he seems to be kind of contorting that, but also everything that he shows is idealistic. And then he adds this little button at the end that's like, and we screwed it up. Okay. Is that kind of like all you got? I don't know. It's weird. It's Sorkin-y is what it is.
Um, yeah, this is like a very complicated movie for me because I think when I was younger and I saw it in the theaters with my parents took me to it because I was like, it's Tom Hanks, it's Julia Roberts, it's Philip Seymour Hoffman, who I was obsessed with. It's a political film. I watched The West Wing with my dad on NBC when it aired. And it was like I get to watch a show for adults, and it was wonderful. And it is a genuinely a great show. And yeah, Jay, it's the most idealistic piece of material ever created.
Yeah, American
Probably,
president,
you
all
know,
that
American
stuff.
president, all that stuff. And I just remember watching in the theaters and being like, that was actually a pretty interesting, compelling piece of, I didn't know that. And as you grow up and you realize like the machine sucks and democracy is a bit of a lie and politics are terrible and our nation world building and what we do to countries, and how we can build as many allies as we can build enemies is striking. Then this movie kind of that's weirdly what it's about. But the problem is like Sorkin doesn't have enough bite to his writing, and Nichols is not the director he used to be to make it visually as interesting as it could be. And it feels like if that was their idea for an ending to really sucker the audience in, it's not particularly really good. I actually just think that seeing how bloodshot and depleted and just run down someone who fought this entire time to make this happen and still have and who's very loyal to the system, have the system like yell back at him, it doesn't matter what you did because we don't give a shit. Like the scene in the congressional room where they're talking about the budget, and they're like, yeah, just who gives a shit about a school in Pakistan? And like the way Hanks delivers that, it's like Afghanistan. Like, you know what I mean? And the way he does it is the only way Tom Hanks could do it. But I don't think it's a celebration at the end. I think it's like him at the end being like, I'm getting this medal and it fucking sucks, but I'm gonna put on a smile and gonna keep going. But if you would have put 9/11 there, yeah, it would have been memorable just for 9/11.
It
You know
would
what I
have
mean?
been, but in that
Yeah.
remember me way where it's like, what?
What are we
What a
doing?
folly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it would have
Yeah.
been the worst idea possible.
What is United 93 the only 9/11 movie that has persisted, or am I forgetting
I mean, does
something
the Hurt Locker
obvious?
count? That's
No,
post
Hurt
9/11. I
Locker's
guess
not a
that's
really.
9/11
I guess
movie. That's
that's
an Iraq War
that's
movie.
I guess
Yeah.
Iraq War movie. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's the quality of that film just will make it live on, and it does tie in for those of us who saw or lived through 9/11. It captures a certain kind of heroism that we knew went on in that day, but at least the film gave us a chance to see it and celebrate that heroism.
like Zero
And I
Dark
think,
30 doesn't count, right?
God, I work with people who were born after 9/11 now, and it is
Yes.
dire.
It's bad when they look at your ID now when they like card you at a restaurant or something and they see that
If it's got a 19, it's
it's got a
over.
19. You're like, yep,
19.
you're good, and you're like, fuck, God, I'm old. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
yeah, I was like, Tom's like, yeah, yeah, welcome to my fucking club. But like, I'm just looking. I typed in. You should never do this in the Google, by the way. Type in movies about 9/11. But I mean, yeah, it's like United 93, World Trade Center, Fahrenheit 9/11, I guess, because it's a very popular documentary. Zero
Yeah.
Dark 30
Yeah,
doesn't
different kind of
count.
thing.
You
Yeah.
know, most of these movies just don't count. Yeah, but there
Yeah.
was there was just a string of them, though. I mentioned them like. I remember like The Kingdom and Rendition and Lions for Lambs. Like you remember all this, Tom. Like even
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
like, doesn't Demi do his remake of The Manchurian Candidate, even though it's not related to it? I mean, he's totally
Yeah.
making that in a response to all that.
Yeah.
It felt like any political thriller at the time had to tie somewhat back. I remember even Gaines of New York. The ending of Gaines of New York is like puts
Yeah.
the World Trade Centers in the background at the funeral, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's everywhere.
But you're right. The only one who's lasted is United 93.
Yeah,
I think part of the reason why the ending here just kind of limps along is that it leaves it up to the audience to put together the pieces, and there's not enough pieces that they give us to explain what happened afterwards, besides that congressional hearing scene. So, as heavy-handed as 9/11, a 9/11 ending might be, I think you really have to lead the audience to that for them to get it. Because right now it just what is, as you had said, there's some terrific highs here, and you want to end the film on that kind of a high, and it just kind of dribbles out, and which
Kind of
is
peters
just,
out. Yeah.
yeah, which is a shame because that other ending would have, as heavy as it could have been, would have worked, I think.
How do you think that would have been handled at the time?
You
Like,
mean
do you
like
think
received?
yeah, like, do you think people would have been like, "Holy shit, Nichols did it! They
I
stuck the
don't
landing."
know.
This is
This
also from
No.
Sorkin. I think we kind of got a glimpse of what Sorkin would have had with something like that. The infamous newsroom episode. The infamous
I
newsroom
mean, this was
episode where the
still the
pilots are
Bush.
like, where the like,
Well, yeah,
you
that
know,
is one of the most embarrassing things
where
ever
the
put on
pilots are
film.
like,
But
where the pilots, I guess, are former
we
members of
did
the
it.
military, and they're like, "We did this for you tonight. I work for Newsnight, and we just captured Osama bin Laden and killed him for you." And then they like hug each other, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Have you ever seen that, Tom? Did you ever watch the
I
newsroom?
watched that. I'm just trying
I
to
have seen that clip.
maybe I put that out of my
It's
memory
in the
because that
second
does not sound
season.
good.
It's wild where they basically have been fighting with this airline stewardess to get on the ground. They break the news on the plane to their pilot and co-pilot, who they see have like wings and everything, so they were former members of the military. And he basically says, "I'm, I forgot who the actor was. It wasn't Jeff Daniels. It was one of the other actors." And he basically just says, "I'm in the executive producer of Newsnight in America, and I just wanted to let you know that we got the news that Osama bin Laden was killed tonight for you guys." And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, it's because that was the thing about that show was
And it's shown
everything.
like so heroically. It's so weird.
It's so like salute your television and good night HBO.
Well, you know what? You know what the best reveal of Bin Laden's death was?
What was
Which
that?
one?
John Cena,
Oh,
WWE.
That's right.
We have
That's
caught
right.
and compromised to a permanent end.
End.
Osama,
Osama
bin Laden.
Yeah, he did that like what, like right at the end of one of their episodes, and it
Oh
was
my
like
God.
it was in
I
like
don't know.
St. Paul, Minnesota, or
It was
some random
incredible.
bullshit place.
Absolutely incredible.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's
I was
great.
gonna say it was maybe too soon to have an ending like that, but then anytime I think about that, I'm just like, all the
When,
President's Men came out like 2 years after Nixon resigned,
Yes.
so
yep.
it's you can't use that excuse,
When did Remember Me come out?
around this same time, I
I
think.
think so.
Like, I always want to think that's like 2010, but I know I'm wrong on that. Right?
Remember Me, 2010. Great job, Ryan.
Damn,
Yeah.
I'm awesome.
Ding, ding.
Yes. So that is not even at the 10-year anniversary of 9/11 when that happened.
Hmm.
So this would
I
just
mean, actually, the
capture-
best 9/11 movie, of course, is 25th Hour, but it's not directly a 9/11 movie.
No, it's not.
No.
I mean, even the Bourne movies have a hint of, of that in there too. Like, there's a lot of movies that are about 9/11 that it's hard not to think of 9/11 in a post 9/11 world when you make conspiracy movies or spy movies or
Especially
action
while
movies
Bush
or
was still in
thrillers.
office.
Exactly. I mean, W is a 9/11 movie.
What was that?
It's
Adam
all-
Sandler.
Click?
Who was in it? Cheadle movie? Wasn't
Oh,
that a
Rain
9/11
Rain Over
movie?
Me. Yeah.
Reign Over Me. Wow.
Yeah. Rain Over Me with Cheadle and Adam Sandler. Sandler loses his family
Mm.
to the 9/11 attacks, and he becomes basically like introverted, and Don Cheadle's like his old college friend, and he tries to get him out of his shell, and
Gotta admit, never saw that one.
it's a rough movie. But it also Sandler's good in it because he's a good dramatic actor, and him and Cheadle rock because Cheadle can never do a bad performance either, unless he's in a Marvel movie. But no, I mean, like this, Jay, to your point earlier, this movie does have moments where it's like, damn, this is great. Like when it's just like when Hanks and Philip Seymour Hoffman are going back and forth, or when they're at the bar and Charlie goes and takes the call about the congressional hearing against him, and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Julia Roberts are flirting with each other and talking about,
It's kind of a one-way flirt, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But it's like two. They recognize each other as
They're
being.
playing tennis.
Yeah, it's sort of like you don't go into my territory and I don't go into yours,
Yeah.
and you can't go and I'm not letting you in my bed. Bye.
And then, and then, yeah, the minute Philip Seymour Hoffman walks in this movie, you're like, oh, that's right. He was and probably
I mean,
still is the greatest actor of all time.
His first scene, man.
Yeah,
Him and John, what is it, John
Slattery. Yeah.
Slattery, yeah. And he's just like, I thought you were going to apologize. No, 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 no. I was told you were going to apologize. It's so great. Yeah, and I mean, like Hanks is perfect for this role. I can understand why he wanted to get this made. He feels exactly perfect.
It's very non-Hanks though.
Yeah.
No, I mean it totally makes sense, like for him to play this role. Because
Hanks?
yeah,
I don't know about that.
Oh,
What else has he
yeah.
done like this?
because of the personality that he carries. Like people of that time, and congressmen and certain politicians, they have to have a certain
A
swagger.
partying womanizer?
I mean, it kind of felt like it. Like it felt like
That's America's dad.
it felt like he slipped into this like a glove. Like I didn't feel like this was a stretch for him. I was like, he kind of
I don't know that it hits all the time, but
the way he plays it though, it plays very Hanksy.
yeah,
But on paper, you're right, Jay. It isn't a typical Hanksy role.
but he makes it his own.
But the great thing is Nichols confronts that directly because he directly cuts from that awards ceremony, and you see the noble Hanks standing there accepting all of the praise, and we cut immediately to Hanks in a hot tub with the naked strippers.
Yeah,
And there, okay, this guy is complicated. And and Nichols wastes no time in getting that contrast out, and I think that kind of appealed to Hanks as well. I mean, they specifically don't show him using cocaine; they kind of leave that very. And
that was
Hanks apparently
very
that was
purposeful.
a bottom line thing for him.
Yeah.
and he never has really a sex scene in the film either. Like it's just
Not
hinted.
See, that's
really.
the scene that doesn't play for me is the scene with him and Emily Blunt. I'm like, I'm not buying that.
Yeah, because he looks like
But even during that scene where she's smoking dope, it's like I still can't get over that. What is Emily Blunt doing in this movie?
It is.
I was thinking,
crazy.
I was just like, how old is she? Like, isn't she like she feels like she's playing like a 20-year-old in this, and she's probably like, I don't know, it just feels like
She's
way
probably like 25.
it felt like she's evolved from this role already by then, right?
this
like
was post Prada, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's no like Prada's like
That's 1 year post Prada, so this would have filmed probably before that came out.
Yeah, and they probably wouldn't have seen the impact that Prada would have.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I guess so. I thought, man, I always think Prada's like 05, but I got or 04, but
Yeah.
it's like 06. Jesus.
But he uses kind of a nice reversal there because Blunt is initially presented to us as a prim daughter of a constituent.
Mm-hmm.
You think, okay, she's uptight and whatever, and then immediately she's blowing dope in the bedroom. So there are all these early reversals that Sorkin puts in and Nichols nails. That get okay. This is a Nichols movie. I'm sitting back and enjoying it.
Sort of the good contradictions between people in their private and public personas.
Exactly.
Which, that is perfect summation as to why I think Hanks is perfect for this, because he's perfect in terms of just seeing, if you thought of a politician's face, you would think Tom Hanks. But then what's interesting is he's subverting all expectations of even what you think Tom Hanks is going to be. Like, I think another subversion of that is like when he plays Carl in Catch Me If You Can. Like, that's a government man. That's a guy on the run, but that man is deeply flawed and has problems with his family.
Sad.
It's very sad, you know what I mean, too. So I think that's what Spielberg's able to find there and works so perfectly with Hanks. And inside of this film, that's why Hanks and Nichols worked so well here.
Like it mostly works.
I think Hanks is good in this. Like,
I mean, look, I love Hanks, Ryan. Like,
Yeah, I
Hanks
know.
is my guy.
You're like, I'll watch Trash Hanks and start
I
crying.
love Trash Hanks.
You're like, I'll watch Finch and be a
Finch
fucking-
is very good.
Yeah.
I am very pro Finch.
Tom, is Finch good?
Finch is interesting.
It made me cry so hard. Oh my God. I've
does that
only
make
watched
a
it
movie-
the one time. Well, no, I mean, Ryan, this is a very valid question because I just watched We Live in Time, which is a movie that made me cry very hard. But then I was mad that it made me cry so hard
Why are
because I
you
didn't think it
mad?
was totally earned. I was like, this is just
Oh,
like pushing buttons that are prefabricated, just like they know exactly what they're doing
Mhm.
and it's working, but it's working because it's a tried and true formula.
yeah.
I re-
But I can't deny that it was successful at what it was trying to do.
I
So
think
that's like
Garfield and
three
Pew
and
are
a half
pretty good
stars.
too.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
great.
oh, they're
Yeah.
great, and they have wonderful chemistry. You really believe them as a couple
Yeah. I really
because you
did.
like them so much as people.
I like the movie's not really saying anything new,
Yeah,
but it's just kind of like it's just like we know we're going to give you a solid B minus movie.
yeah,
And then you end up and then you're like, "Oh, okay, well you did kind of do that, so maybe I'll give you actually a B." You know
yeah.
what I mean? You know what I mean?
And they know the audience. The audience for it knows what they're getting into, and they
They're
want
not
their buttons pushed, and they do it expertly.
yeah. And Garfield's so good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I
Oh
like
man.
Garfield's like I think
Garfield,
we
Nichols collaborator,
yeah, he
Death of a Salesman.
did Death of a Salesman where he worked with Philip Seymour
Philip
Hoffman.
Seymour Hoffman.
It
Yeah.
was startling. As I was reading the Mark Harris biography, I eventually was like, oh my God, is it possible that Mike Nichols died after Philip Seymour Hoffman? And sure enough, he died like 6 months after Philip Seymour Hoffman died, and
Jeez.
that was startling to me.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Truly
Philip Seymour Hoffman is he's unbelievable in this movie.
yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about him a lot a year or so ago when we did the PTA series, Jay, of just maybe my favorite actor
It's
ever.
not a bad answer.
It's not a bad
No,
answer.
no.
And it's a legacy that just man is so rich. And even in a movie like this, where this isn't like the greatest movie he's ever been in, not even by far, not even close,
No, no.
but he's just so damn good in it. Where you're just like, man, like this guy could walk in and do anything in any movie, steal the show,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, he could have completely hijacked it and sent it in another direction, but instead there's the interesting thing to me. One of the interesting things to me about Charlie Wilson's War is that on one hand, it's a movie star movie with Julia
Mm,
Roberts and Tom Hanks,
yeah.
Mhm.
and when the movie stars are connecting, there's a certain kind of movie star acting going on, and we bring a lot of their personas to those scenes. And when Hoffman comes on, all of a sudden there's a actor coming in, a movie star, yes, but what remembered more as a great actor. And it's interesting how the Hoffman world intersects with the movie star world. And
Mhm.
by not hijacking it, he finds a way to blend the two of them together. So the scenes like at the bars with Hanks and Hoffman really seem genuine, and they're just integral together, and it makes those scenes very special. And I think for in those moments in both of their works.
And then you got like, I mean, this, I was kind of watching the movie. I was like, damn, there's all these people in this. You know, Dennis O'Hare's playing a station chief and Slatterly's playing the CIA director, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like you said, Jay, you know, Blunt's in for this small part. Amy Adams is
I haven't
literally,
even
you
talked about
know,
Amy. This is
Amy,
like
yeah,
peak
yeah,
crush on Amy Adams
I
for
knew
me
it.
during this era.
And this was such a like this was another kind of big step for I mean, this year was her very like she already had her breakouts and her Oscar nomination and everything, but Enchanted was such a big thing for her and she had like
Made her
this
really
role.
commercially viable.
Yeah, she became
yeah.
like, you know, because she's in Catch Me If You Can. She's in like, you know, Drop Dead Gorgeous, Cruel Intentions 2 on VOD. But then Junebug comes out in '05. She gets Oscar nominated. Then she has the year before, she's in like a bunch of comedies, including Talladega Nights. And then this year, she's got Charlie Wilson's War, where she's part of this ensemble, and Enchanted, which was a huge hit. And then from that point on, for the next, you know, like 7, 8 years, she's maybe the highest
A very
profiled
big deal.
actress. Yeah, working period.
Yeah.
Because the next year she works with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Marilyn gets nominated again for Doubt. She's got Julie and Julia the following year. You know, and she's in the Night of the Museum movie. They made a crap ton of money. She's in The Fighter, which she gets nominated again. Muppets, and then on and on and on and on
Who
and
can
on.
forget about her turn as Lynn Cheney? It
Last time
still
she's
Fanning
reverberates to
Key.
this day.
last time she's been nominated.
Is that right? I mean, I guess that makes
Alas,
sense.
yes. Yeah.
Because I mean,
Um,
she
Night
didn't.
Bitch did not pay off like many
No,
people thought it would.
no.
Because
I
it
she won.
wasn't the movie that many people thought it was going to be.
no.
No.
But I just don't. I don't want her to get nominated again if she's not going to win.
Yeah,
Leave her alone.
I think she was close in 2020 in Hillbilly Elegy. I really think that she was very close to that.
I mean, that would
Probably.
have been a little bit of a bummer, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
it's a bummer that we have to still talk about that stupid fucking movie
I'm
with
looking at what her, well, yeah, that's true. I'm looking
Yeah.
at her next couple movies, At the Sea, from a director whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce,
I
but
think you should.
Pieces of a Woman, White God, a real kind of art house filmmaker. We'll see how that goes, called At the Sea.
And then she's doing Clara and the Sun, which is with her and Jenna Ortega from Taika Waititi.
Oh boy, dystopian science
There
fiction
you
film
go.
from Taika Waititi starring Jenna Ortega and Amy Adams.
And you know there's going to be a comic twist to it, 'cause-
Oh,
yeah. But you know who rocks though in Charlie Wilson's War 2? I'm going to say rocks because I do think he rules.
Mhm.
Is Ned Beatty.
Yeah, he's great.
There's one of the funniest moments in this movie is he's like, and they took us over there and they said it's and they wanted us to speak to him, right, Mr. Papadopoulos? And he looks and the camera points right at Gus's face, and he's just so over this guy because you know that he's been like messing up his name the entire time on the flight all the way over here. And it's one of the one times where I actually laughed during this movie, and I was like, "This is great."
and you're just waiting for the steam to come out of Hoffman's
Exactly.
ears.
Exactly. And you see the little smirk from Hanks too in that moment as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like I know this is killing him,
I
and,
know
and
this
Hank
is
is enjoying it.
exactly to be like just to have to play the system there a little bit. Yeah, it's really good. Like that whole section there too, as well with
It's a
Beatty.
terrific ensemble, and it's really nice when Amy Adams gets the chance to do ensemble work.
Mhm.
Yes,
And she's
Jay.
really good at it.
Jay, I want to ask you about Sorkin.
Yeah, let's get into Sorkin.
Uh, I think this is one
Kind
of
of
those.
full of shit. Is that where we want to go?
I mean, sure. Let's start from that just base level. And because where is he at now? Where are we at now
Are you
currently
saying
with
in
Aaron Sorkin?
2025?
Yeah.
I think the cinephile world has almost fully turned on him.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're not even 15 year, we're on the 15-year anniversary of Social Network.
I think in the eyes of many people, the view
that-
of the Social Network now is that is Aaron Sorkin filtered through David Fincher, and that is why that works so well. Fair or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yet he's the reason that
But that's the
Moneyball
reputation.
was saved because he came in and did a massive rewrite of that thing to make it the movie that it is. So
And the problem with Moneyball and with Steve Jobs is that it pins every thematic element of both of those movies on their relationship with their daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's he's got his stuff.
And yet they still rule because they're good movies. Well, I mean, Moneyball is like Steve Jobs is. I mean, Steve Jobs is okay.
Steve
This
Jobs
is
is
all
pretty
right.
Like
good.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah,
it's
all right.
I won't stand
Yeah.
for this and that.
Yeah.
But I mean, But right now, his name is being used as a pejorative for a certain kind of writing, and that's very difficult to come back from.
Yeah.
He will. I can see him being rediscovered at some point. Maybe 5 or 6 years down the line. But right now, you're right. It's just, ooh, Aaron Sorkin. Don't
Because
know it.
His last thing was being in the Ricardos. Has he not even written anything since then?
No, he hasn't. Well, no. Yeah.
I think the smart thing for him would to be go back to just writing and leave the directing.
Oh, he did
of
the
it.
Camelot on Broadway Redux.
Oh
Yeah, I've heard-
God, I heard that was terrible.
Yeah, but I've also heard his stage adaptation of To Kill a Mockingbird is fantastic, and
That I have heard too.
I think that would be talk about like a very timely thing to probably get back into people's good graces is to is to do that. You know what I mean? Because I mean that book's getting banned left and right. It would be very timely. Problem was if you do that as a movie, you have to
Is that book
recast.
getting banned?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is it really?
It
Yeah.
really is, buddy.
Because
It's
it
on.
says nice things about black people. Can't have
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Because it's
I am
yeah.
just
I'm telling you, it's
astounded by that.
I
welcome
mean,
to America.
they just banned Julianne Moore's children's book about a girl having freckles and being different.
We're doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Things are going
great. Yeah,
fantastically.
yeah, made it great again.
What's her name? Like Freckle Strawberry or whatever her name is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
My
That's what we're
my
spending our
wife
time
sent me
on.
that. I was like, wait, her name's really Freckle Strawberry, Freckle
Yeah,
Face Strawberry or something like that. Um, yeah, no, I think that that's probably the only way to get him back into because he's not making television shows anymore. I
no,
think the newsroom kind of he exhausted all the resources after that because that was a even with HBO full blank check. Like the thing about the newsroom is everybody watches that clip of Jeff Daniels from the first 10 minutes of the show where he just throws an absolute heater of a monologue and you're like, "Oh, this is going to be the whole show. Sorkin's back." And then it never lived up to the promise of that first 10 minutes and they did that for 3 seasons and
yeah,
wasted a ton of money and a ton of time. And we're handcuffed to the idea of having to cover events of the news from real life in the storylines as opposed to just making it up like they did on the West Wing and creating their own world. And that was the problem, I think, a lot with that, as well as also just he hasn't made a good television series since the West Wings. And even still, like the final couple seasons of the West Wing, he was kicked off because of his substance abuse problems.
yeah,
And then
He's
he
still not that old. I will say he's only
he's what
63.
that's
yeah.
not bad.
He's got room for a comeback.
He was young
And I
when
mean, people do love him.
West
He
Wing was
is
on.
beloved, like in writing circles and in the industry, because when he makes a movie that hits, I mean, he wrote
He founded
whether
a style, really, like walk and talk. Sorkin.
it
That's
is
Yeah,
him. But I mean,
and
yeah,
there's a few walk and talk moments here, particularly in Hanks's office with all of his.
Oh,
Uh,
that is maybe the best scene in the movie.
with
Yeah,
the
other than when PSH breaks the window, of course.
yes,
I
yes,
mean, that is. But when they keep throwing Gust out of the room, and then
yes.
he ended up having a bug on the bottle of whiskey that he bought him. That's
so
incredible
good.
stuff.
Such
It
a
is so,
great
that's
part.
so May and Nichols and May is what that is. It's so rat-a-tat, back and
Hmm.
forth, quick.
And that's why I think it works so well because like Nichols is working with a a very good writer here. Whether
Yeah,
if the material is not the best that we've ever seen from
It is a
Sorkin,
very
but
good surface level piece of writing
it,
that to me amounts to very little.
no, I
But
agree.
yes,
well,
But
yeah,
but he's always worked best when he has more established writers than ones that are trying to do so much and he's not able to rein it in,
true.
especially later on in his career as well too.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
here the writing, the big ideas are okay, but it's the little moments that I think his skill really comes out, and he still has the Hanks Roberts moments when they are jousting, the Hoffman Hanks moments at the bars, and just getting down to the nitty gritty. It's the small one-on-one scenes I think that really show his writing off to the best style rather than the big set pieces.
Yeah, because that's I think kind of like the script in this movie sort of mirror what Sorkin's directorial work has looked like.
Yeah,
But the little moments inside Molly's Game or Trial of Chicago 7 or even Being the Ricardos, the small moments are more interesting and better than the grand big moments. And then they can be vastly irritating depending on how they're executed. And I think of Molly's Game is probably the best of his directorial films, Sorkin.
I still
But
kind of defend Chicago 7, but I understand why so
yeah,
many people find that movie like kind of detestable.
I don't think you can get on board with Ricardo's though. I think that
No, I did not enjoy
no.
being one of any of the Ricardos.
Yeah, I would agree that Molly's Game is probably the best, but even Chicago 7 has moments, a lot of
Yeah,
moments
it really does.
that really click. I think he's better when he's smaller.
You know who's absolutely incredible in Trial of Chicago 7 is Michael Keaton.
I was going to say
The
Rylance, but
well,
you know
Rylance
I
and
just
Keaton
love
in
Yeah.
Rylance.
yeah, Rylance and Keaton in that scene where they bring him into the courtroom. That is the best thing about that movie.
He does such good work in that.
He's so
Wow.
good. Well, and even like I know that people go back and forth on the ending of Molly's Game and if they like it or not. But I think Costner's kind of, even though that scene is so ridiculous, you know, it goes also back, Jay, to the dad and daughter sort of shit there, right? Sort of completing his trilogy there.
Yeah, I
I think
he
that
was in a phase.
I think Costner just absolutely knocks that scene right out of the park because it's the ability to tap into. He's kind of weirdly, Sorkin's got this thing too where he can write for these movie stars and cast them in the right spot, a little bit like Nichols. I'm not saying he's the same as Mike Nichols, but I'm just saying is that they have an eye for good dialogue being delivered by great actors and making you believe whether or not that dialogue works or not is up to the eye, I think, of the beholder that's watching it. And
God, I forgot that Molly's Game is basically the inverse of Moneyball and Steve Jobs.
it
Thank you
really
for
is.
reminding me of that.
You're welcome, buddy. You know, that
I
was a
mean,
movie.
even The Social Network, a movie that I think is pretty much perfect. The
It is.
whole message of that movie is he started Facebook because a girl dumped him. Like that
Yeah.
is truly, it is such an intensely trite button, again, a button put on the movie at the end where he's just refreshing the did she accept my friend request? Did she accept my friend request?
Yeah, but if we've seen the last 15 years of Mark Zuckerberg, it's absolutely correct. Like the dude is has big, massive, small dick energy. You know what I mean? Like it's
it's a good shorthand
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
it's a good entry point into this, you know, egotistical piece of shit. You know what I mean? It's like how does he treat people in the romantic
He wears
level, and
gold
then
chains now. You see
I
that?
know,
He's like
I
trying to be a
know,
cool guy now.
I know,
Oh,
because
He wears
he's
like
hanging
big
out,
sweatshirts and gold chains. Has a cool haircut.
yeah, and
yeah.
kicking people off of islands and stuff so he
Hanging out
can
with
buy them.
Rogan.
Boy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, tech bros.
The tech bros are real turned around and everything. But yeah, no, I think that probably, I think you're right, Tom. I think Sorkin will come back around. There's going to just be a large contingent though still that are, they see this era that we're currently in right now as this is Sorkin. And I think people forget he was great
Mhm.
at one point. And you know, and still think it has the problems of him, but I don't know. There's something also kind of nostalgic about for this era there too of Sorkin, where this was his first kind of project after his whole debacle too, and he was trying to get his feet back under him. And so you kind of relate to Charlie Wilson being alone and an alcoholic and kind of chewed up through the machine, and that's a little bit how, you know, Sorkin also feels kind of by the end of losing the biggest show on television because of his own transgressions. So
And when you in the scene when Charlie is all alone and has been drinking all night, and you see him take up the plastic bag filled with bottles that you know that he's been consuming, I mean, you can't help but think about Sorkin at that time.
yeah,
You're thinking, okay, this is taken from life.
yeah, really
Yeah.
much, really is.
The thing
Uh,
about the thing about Sorkin's writing that though I do respond to, and I think it pairs very well with Nichols, is that Sorkin writes bright characters, and Nichols responds. He loves directing stories about bright characters because the wordplay that Sorkin has, Nichols, given his background, his whole performing life was wordplay, and I think they make a very good team here when the dialogue can really is sharp and funny and character based and allows Hoffman particularly to really dig deep into a character that might another actor might not have had the courage to explore.
Yeah, that is true. Every character in a Sorkin script is extraordinarily quick-witted.
Yeah.
It's and for Nick from Nichols' perspective, it's kind of like they're playing the greatest improvisers in the world. So I'm sure that plays a little bit to Nichols's sensibilities, obviously. And you do feel that in almost every scene. There is a moment where you are just kind of like, that was good. That was clever. That was very sharp. Good job. All and whether that is coming from the performance or the writing or the direction or in some cases all three, um, it it really is at times a really great movie and at times again sort of a tedious one.
Yeah.
And for me, it almost does come down to if Philip Seymour Hoffman is in the scene, it kind of is going to be great.
Yeah.
Whether that is at the beginning when he is so angry or later when they're wheeling and dealing. It's almost like a montage of them just going from country to country trying to raise money to buy weapons, which is the other thing about this movie is that the great victory of this movie is raising $1 billion to kill people. So you know, I
Yeah.
mean, and I don't think the movie addresses that in any through any critical lens. I think it's just kind of like that was his goal and he did it.
Like many Nichols films, the theme of money runs through this whole
Yes,
film,
sure, certainly.
and it's even down to from the big things like the $1 billion to kill people to Hanks having to worry about appearing to support Muslims because it's going to put off his Jewish contributors to his
Yes.
reelection. Even all of that, and the money that Joanne, Julia Roberts' character, raises from right-wing anti-communists. This is it. All it sort of seems to permeate this entire world, which is not unlike several Nichols films that you guys have talked about.
The
Jay,
sixth wealthiest woman in Texas.
I was just
Yeah.
going to bring her up as the next kind of talking point because Jay, you hadn't mentioned her, but we talked about in Closer how Julia is so great in that movie. Truly
Mhm.
underrated in terms of that ensemble there. What did you think of her here, Jay?
She's quite good at what she's doing. I mean, she's going pretty broad with the
Hmm.
character, which I think is fine. I think this movie has several fairly broad depictions of characters. I would say a lot of women are presented fairly broadly, which might be a
Yeah.
criticism of the movie and might
Hmm.
generally be a criticism of Aaron Sorkin. But um, I would say she's doing a really good job. They did one thing I noted from the biography was that they purposely like put the wig on her super tight to give the impression that she's had a bunch of facelifts, and she said it was very uncomfortable, but she enjoyed it a lot. And I think that really plays. And she is sort of the intellectual yang to Charlie Wilson's yin, and I think it does kind of speak to Charlie's willingness to abandon his idealism in the name of practicality. I'll tell you the movie I kept thinking of as I was watching this was I was like, this is basically Lincoln, but instead of trying to abolish slavery, they're killing people. Uh,
Well, they're killing
and-
Russians, but I mean,
well, yeah, but I
I'm
mean, fine. I mean, they're
not going to
killing.
feel bad for the
Yes,
Russians. I'm never
No,
going to feel bad
no.
for the
but
Russians.
then they
So,
killed a bunch of people, and then it was all in the name of what? Killing a bunch of more people
yeah,
several years later.
it's
It's
casualties of war,
the
my friend.
military-industrial
I
complex,
was just
man. I
going to
mean,
say it.
it's an absolute nightmare. We're living in hell.
And
But
just like Lincoln, this is kind of like a ho hum sort of ending that you walk out of the theater with too. Because I do not like the ending of Lincoln at all.
oh well, I mean, the ending of Lincoln, that's a Spielberg thing.
He
He has
couldn't
a
help it. Somebody
tendency
should have.
occasionally to.
Tom Hanks should have come into his office and say, "Wait a minute here.
It's-
In this movie, 10 minutes early, please,
yes.
or 5 minutes early, or whatever." Him walking down the hall is perfect. You don't need to go and see his hole in the head. You know what I mean? So, what is
Yeah,
it
I
too
agree with you.
soon
I
to
think that
make
movie's great, but
Yeah,
yes.
it's great because Tony Kushner, maybe controversial. Tony Kushner, a little bit better screenwriter than Aaron
I mean, I
Sorkin.
think some people would actually maybe say that's controversial,
Is
but
it?
A lot of people love Sorkin still. I think there's a
I
lot
mean,
of
like,
admiration for
yeah,
Sorkin. I
but
think
a lot
there's
of people
sort of
love
like a
Tony Kushner.
film. There's a film literati that has turned their back on Sorkin to a certain extent. But
Yeah.
I mean, Kushner hasn't written that many movies. One,
No, but he's
obviously his magnum opus is the thing he did with Nichols. So
yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it was on stage first, and then he did it with Nichols. Yeah,
right.
so
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of weirdly similar, though. Kushner just mostly now works with Spielberg. So but like
And
every
only
movie,
occasionally. And he was really like the translator for the Fablemans is
yeah,
kind of all
Yeah.
he was.
yeah. But he wouldn't. He could have worked with many other people
Oh, he
over
could.
the
He could
over
do
the 40, 50 years,
whatever he wanted.
and
It's so
he
funny when
was.
Mark Harris drops his name in the book as if he's just another person.
He's just like the guy down the hall making him a frittata. You know what I mean? Like,
Tony Kushner was at his funeral and he was
Yeah.
very emotional.
I
Don't
stood
say.
right next to him as
How
I
did
held
you-
the
how did you
umbrella
know
in the
that?
rain. You know what I mean?
But
Oh, my
getting back
God.
to Roberts, she really has that particular hard-edged Texas type down, I think. And it veers on cliche, but Roberts always seems to make it fresh with her line readings. She makes it very clear for like the very first scene when she deals with Hanks, this is not a woman to be fucked with. And Hanks knows that. And but gives just enough hint of a past with him to keep us kind of tantalized. It's never explicitly made, but that's always sort of under the surface.
Yeah.
And it plays on the movie star persona, but it's
Mhm.
also some of the more well-written scenes of the film.
She's
Yeah.
so good at snark.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she
It's
really
She
unbelievable.
walks out of that when she walks out of that bar, sluts, and just walks. It's
Yeah.
just like it's just yeah.
I'm a liberal, not where it counts.
Not where it counts.
Not where it
It's good
counts.
stuff. They've got good rat-a-tat back and forth.
Yeah.
And Hanks and Roberts here. They're just movie stars like you said, Tom. That are just they're in only a couple of scenes, but it just works. I mean, those when she calls him on the telephone, I was like, oh my god, they should be in every movie together. They
Yeah.
absolutely rule here.
While her character is in bed with her newlywed husband.
Yeah. And she's calling the
that's
guy
so
that
funny.
she'd probably want to be with. She probably
Yeah.
aligns more with, but it doesn't help her financially and probably
No.
socially nearly as much. Like I could be with a congressman or I could be with another like oil guy. You know what I mean? But where am I really at the end of the night or where am I always? I'm usually with Charlie. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's she's a fascinating character. I mean, like I do I do really find her just very funny when they're at the Gus has told Charlie she needs to tone down the religious rhetoric and he's just like, want me to read that speech for you? Like it's like, no, it's just opening remarks. Maybe I should. And then he's trying to find the bar in the back and the sort of the walk and talk there to get back there to the where the catering's going on. I don't know. They're really good opposite one another. What can I say other than Julia Roberts and Tom Hanks? They're good at their jobs.
Yeah. And I think Nichols enjoys their scenes together. I think one of the best Nichols moments in this is the scene in the bathroom after they may or may not have had sex. And
Well, they did.
she has this monologue about various weapons, various kinds of weapons and how
Yeah.
they're operated while she is doing her makeup. And that is just brilliant. What would have been so dry. You're watching her curling her eyebrows and doing all of, and it's
with
just
the
a
with the
wonderful melding
pin.
of director
Yeah.
and writer there.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. When she asked Amy Adams to get a martini for her, two olives. It's just little moments that she's able to.
Amy
Again,
Adams just getting
and it-
dunked on. I
she's
hated
getting.
it.
It's all power, and it's she
It is.
she lives power in this.
It's the complete opposite of the performance she gives in Closer with Nichols, where that is a completely. Again, I think that character's very complex, but not as pronounced as in her complexity as those other characters. And here is a person completely open and completely out with and big and opens up a room. and really showing kind of like what he's done with Streep throughout his filmography in the different type of muscles and type of things he can flex out of an actress when working with them on various projects. You know what I mean? Because Postcards from the Edge is very different than Silkwood and very different from Heartburn and very different from Angels in America working with Meryl. And I think that that was kind of like the great thing about these two projects, seeing them so close back to back, is having an actress like Julia Roberts, who he becomes very comfortable with here, being able to stretch her in other ways that other directors just weren't able to or haven't been able to, you know.
He does deserve a lot of credit for in his career being a real advocate for female, not just female stories, but great female characters, even in kind of male centric movies.
Well, he's just got an eye also too for working with maybe the greatest actresses.
Yeah,
of their
Meryl Streep
generation.
helps. That makes that makes things
working
easier.
Meryl Streep and Julia Roberts and Elizabeth Taylor is never a bad idea. You know, Shirley MacLaine. Like these are not, Diane Weiss. Like these are not bad people to work with. You know, what I mean?
Emma Thompson became
exactly
multiple time collaborator and friend.
Yeah,
and we've seen so many directors working with movie stars who don't know what to do with them.
no, and I think that even in a movie like this, where it's like, yeah, we can lament over the screenplay, but it's like, yeah, but other people would have probably taken this screenplay and just sucked all the energy out of it, and at least. Over the time, Jay, I know that this has grown for you, and Tom, I know is this as well. It's like, yeah, it's not like the best of what it could be or what this type of movie can be, but it is far worse, far better than some of the worst that it could ever be. Like I know that like being the Ricardos isn't the greatest thing in sliced bread, but like I will take a Sorkin-ridden piece
It's
of
just a
dribble
testament
over,
to movie stars, man. It's really all it is.
It really is, but I'll take a Sorkin-ridden movie over a McKay-ridden movie any day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
and that's where I think people really need to watch
for a different day.
Watch the real enemy out there. You know what I mean? Leave Sorkin alone.
I mean, like I think Sorkin's done some kind of hack work, but
yeah, but not
maybe.
Some of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, and that would be McKay. And I think when he's gotten
Vice,
they make Don't Look Up, which
there's
is
sort of in a lot of ways McKay is sort of the anti Sorkin.
Yeah, but at least Sorkin
Vice is the complete antithesis of Charlie Wilson's War.
Yeah. And both have Amy Adams. And one uses her finely, and the other one treats her like shit.
And one got her an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, and that doesn't say really much at that point. We also know in the last 5 years, 5 to 10 years, she's not really made smart choices.
Well, it also might just speak to Holly. She's mom now. That's where she is in her career. A lot of the time, she just has to play mom.
She'll be back in her 50s, making some really interesting choices.
I hope so. She's one of my faves.
Yeah,
she's gonna come back.
On my honeymoon. We did the newlywed game, and the question was, "Who is your celebrity crush?" And my wife immediately knew the answer was Amy Adams.
Is it still Amy Adams?
Correct. I mean,
is it not Rebecca Ferguson?
Ryan, come on now.
Is it not Dua Lipa?
Ryan, come on now. It's Rebecca Ferguson. You know that.
This is fascinating. More, please.
We've talked about this, I think, enough on these shows.
Rebecca Ferguson is top of the mountain right now.
Is she top? Oh, okay.
She's doing some incredible stuff.
Jay, quick prediction. Do you think in the next Mission Impossible movie she will show up and it will be a twist in that she wasn't actually dead at all?
One, I think they never should have killed her. I think she was completely misused in the last movie.
Yep.
And two, I think it was partly because she wanted out and she will not come back.
Okay. Which kind of sucks, right? Because I don't think they really like Haley Atwell. I don't hate
fine. I did.
But
think
the way they killed her
Mission
was
Impossible was such a step down from the two before.
Well, because Fallout rules. But I still had a good time.
Rogue Nation kicks ass.
Do you think Road Nation's better than Fallout?
It's got more Rebecca Ferguson.
That's true.
Well, that is true.
But I think the better film. Okay, well,
I actually think Rogue Nation is more successful as an entire entity, but Fallout has more like pump your fist. This is cinema. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening.
It's a
Type
fucking
stuff
ride,
going on.
man.
Yeah, which rules.
It's got Henry Cavill just kicking ass, taking names. Yeah,
He's literally he loads up his arms like a gun.
Yeah, good God. Who doesn't want to see that shit?
That's
you know what I mean.
Exactly.
That's what movies were made
That's
for.
my Top Gun Maverick, folks. Even though Top Gun Maverick's great.
You know,
Top
the
Gun,
fight
Top
in the
Gun
bathroom.
Maverick rules.
God, that fight in the bathroom's so good.
It's a classic.
The chase scene in Paris. Oh, it's so great. Yeah, I'll know.
I should rewatch all those. When is the new one coming out? Is it this year?
Yeah, it's this year.
It is
All right,
this
I
year.
got to do a rewatch.
I'm doing a rewatch. Maybe I'm doing a piece. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's my favorite franchise. I don't know. We'll see.
Favorite franchise.
Well, Bond's like on hiatus, so until they figure that out.
Yeah.
I love spy movies. I don't know what to tell you. Cruise just getting
Maze
like killing
Runner?
them. They're not making any Maze Runners right now.
Come on, it's my favorite franchise.
Is that yours? I kind of want to get into the Final Destination franchise.
Despicable Me.
Like, I've never
those
seen
little
most of
yellow
those
guys.
movies. Oh, you big Minions guy?
Oh yeah, big time.
Big
Banana.
Minions guy. Tom, do you have a favorite franchise?
Probably Paddington.
That's a good one. That's a good one to have.
Haven't gone to Peru yet.
Haven't gone to
Neither
Peru
have I.
yet myself, but I gotta.
Yeah.
You know what, guys? Let's get on a plane. Let's go to Peru. Let's watch it in Peru. What do you say, Jay? You ready to go? Take the show on the road.
Down.
All right, Tom, come with us.
Absolutely.
You just
Back
left
on a
for
plane again.
you just got back from a trip. You want to go on another one?
Let's go on. Yeah.
My favorite franchise, Chinatown. Two Jakes. Come on.
Two Jakes is good.
Haven't seen it.
Good. It's good.
Yeah. Guys, anything else on Charlie Wilson's War you guys want to mention before we wrap this thing up?
I got one thing. It's interesting, the issue of God in this.
Yeah.
It keeps coming up. Julia Roberts' character, it was so pro-Christian, so all of this, and uses and believes that Jesus Christ is on the side of democracy and what Hanks is doing, and Hoffman can't sit still for any of that stuff, but Hanks is sort of open to, God may be on both sides or neither side. And it was an interesting strain that ran through, popped up here and there throughout, but it was very present throughout. And just one of those issues that sometimes Sorkin just drops in.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The Israel stuff really rings true in 2025 as well. Yeah. That was very interesting.
Yeah, it's the thing that's aged the best. Here,
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll say one thing from me. There is a moment where Gus talks about this Zen master fable very late in the movie, I believe, when they're on the balcony.
Yeah.
That was also used in an episode of the Child series Bluey.
Oh, really?
They reference that exact fable.
Okay.
Yes.
And did you cry at both incidences when they were used?
In Bluey, I probably did. Oh my God, Bluey! That is
That
is
show
elite
ruins
television
you.
right there. Absolutely unbelievable.
I think your kid ever looks at you and you're like, "Get a tissue, old man. Let's go. Come on." Like,
No. He
He's so
says,
cute.
"You are. This is modern masculinity, father." And I say, "Yes, son. Yes, it is."
Very perceptive kid.
And then they put on the football game afterwards, which they don't
Yes,
tell you
exactly.
about. But didn't you just watch like a basketball game this past, or like you've been watching basketball recently and getting?
Yeah, I watch a lot of sports. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how to fix basketball. Basketball frustrates me now.
Basketball rules when your team is number one, baby.
I can't watch the NBA though. I think it's
The NBA is tough.
It's really tough. It's really tough. Tom, do you know
Oh,
what sports
the
do?
belly dancer scene is insane.
Yeah, the belly dancer scene. I was gonna bring this up. What are we doing here? Like,
I don't know how to interpret that one. It
I
feels
don't know
like
how to
the beginning of The Handmaiden, but like not sexy.
I hadn't thought of that, but it does come to mind.
Yes.
I was just like, doesn't need to be here. That's totally feels like a Sorkin put in there that doesn't just need to do it. Going back to your point about how women are used in some of Sorkin's movies, Jay.
Nichols and sex on screen.
Really fascinating.
I mean, obviously, The Graduate, one of the all-time sex movies.
Carnal
like
knowledge.
just elite stuff without being overtly like graphically sexual. It really has this sense of sensuality and sex oozing outside of it. But as he turned into more of kind of a traditional Hollywood filmmaker, where he kind of became a puzzle piece that people were familiar with, I feel like he kind of strayed away from it. I mean, Closer is obviously and the thing about Closer is the interpretation of sex in that movie drives me absolutely insane, and I cannot deal with it. Like, I do not think it successfully grapples with human sexuality in any way that resembles Earth.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a weird arc.
Well, Jay, I mean, there is carnal knowledge, and it's kind
Yeah,
of
I guess early
conversation about
on. I mean,
sex
during
thing.
the
Yeah,
during the controversial era,
And Working Girl is one of the hottest movies ever made. Because I
Heartburn
mean,
does it a little bit.
yeah,
it's there.
So yeah,
Definitely strayed away from it, but I guess that makes sense. I mean, he just got older.
yeah.
I don't know.
So he's just an older guy. Who knows? All right.
Who
Well,
knows?
Jay, it's our last episode we're doing.
Rudy Giuliani.
Okay,
That's all.
there you go.
It's
Um, there you go, buddy. Do you hang out a lot with Rudy?
Me and Rudy kind of drifted apart the last few years.
Yeah. What for? Did you guys golf together?
He wears too much of that like self tanner.
Yeah.
yeah.
When you see
It's always running.
I think it's the black tar that's in his hair when it melts. Do you remember that photo when it was outside and they caught him and
the,
it's just
the Four Seasons gardening.
yeah.
It was-
You know what I'm talking about, Tom.
yeah, that's also
Oh, yeah.
that's kind of the real problem, was that I have an intense rivalry with Four Seasons Total Landscaping.
Oh, yeah. I can't
So
blame you.
when he created that alliance, that was a real deal breaker for us.
That was like a no-go on the friendship anymore. I
Say
see
la
what you're
vie.
saying there. Jay, this is the last official film episode of the series. And so
Yeah.
we're going to do our rankings.
Yeah. I mean, should we talk about kind of the end of his life and
Yeah, I think we should. I think I would like
his legacy in general?
you've done the research, buddy. So talk about after this is what, about 7 more years until his passing. So
Yeah.
Passed away in 2014.
Mhm.
He returned to the stage. That's the one thing that is we're not doing him justice by just talking about his movies, but also I don't live in New York City, so I can't really speak to a lot of this stuff, but he is an absolute legend of the stage, one of the most successful Broadway directors of all time. He's won more Tonys than, I can count. And he got involved with a lot of these plays post Charlie Wilson's War. Yeah, just like you said, he lived 7 years after this film came out, and he wanted to direct this kind of Primary Colors-esque recounting of the Howard Dean campaign for the stage, which was written by the guy who made House of Cards, the American House of Cards.
Bo
He was
Willimon?
the showrunner
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like has been working pretty intimately on Andor,
Mm.
stuff like that. He ended up doing a play called Country Girl with Frances McDormand, Morgan Freeman, and Peter Gallagher, which sounds awesome. Apparently, it was terrible.
Yeah.
So, that was that. And then he just got really sick. He just had a lot of health problems. He had a coronary bypass. He basically had to stay home most of the time. He loved Mad Men. That was one thing that was specifically called out in the in the book, and he actually gave some plot ideas to
Matthew Weiner.
Yeah. Especially he was like, Don Draper has to get married very fast. That guy is not going to be okay with not having steak on the table when he gets home. And Weiner was like, oh, you're probably right. And so he did it. Then I think there are 2 very interesting movies that he almost made. The first one is especially fascinating in 2025. He almost made the High and Low Redux.
Oh, man.
It was written by David Mamet and apparently was being rewritten by Chris Rock. And
Ooh.
he was going to make that. It sounds bizarre. You had me at Mamet, might have lost me at Rock, but it would have been very interesting. He was also at one point attached to Deep Water, which of course was the Ben
Oh,
Affleck Anna de Armas movie from a couple years ago.
oh, I thought you
Not
said
Dark Water,
I
Deep
thought you said
Water.
I thought you
Deep
said Dark Water,
Dark Water.
and I was
The
about to
one
be
where
like,
Ben Affleck
holy
loves snails.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, Deep Water. Ooh.
So
That would have
Adrian,
been very
it,
interesting. The Adrian Lyne movie, yeah,
mm,
yeah. And then
the
Ooh.
Streep
movie
approached
that's
him with Hope Springs, and he didn't end up doing that.
that would have been
Uh,
interesting.
he was just he had a lot of nibbles, but no bites. And it was mostly just because he was sick. And the last thing he did was a play with Rachel Weisz and Daniel Craig, a play, a Pinter play, I believe, and that didn't go over particularly well
Yeah.
either.
Mm,
Um, and Death of the Salesman was between that. Death of the
mhm.
Salesman was 2010. The uh, Daniel Craig Weisz play was in 2013, and he kept threatening to work. One other thing he was going to make, again, very interesting in 2025, he was going to make essentially Maria with Meryl Streep is what he was going to direct. On the
Ooh.
stage though, which
Oh,
would have been
Maria,
very
like Maria
interesting.
Callas.
Yes,
Jealous.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow,
So there was a lot of stuff going on even in his later years.
that would have been
He passed
interesting.
away essentially after a dinner in November of 2014, and when they found his planner for um, the next week, it was completely full. He was always doing stuff,
Wow.
and it is totally one of those things. I've seen it with my grandparents. I have one grandfather who's still with us and one grandfather who passed away. And the grandfather who passed away, he just stopped doing stuff. And you see like them start to kind of fade away when there's no push or no drive to do anything, and they just kind of deteriorate before your eyes in a certain way. And meanwhile, my other grandfather is 95 now, and he's been going to get lunch with people every morning. He's got these habits, these rituals. He's always working on clocks and things like that. And I think that
That's
stuff really
fantastic.
matters. And Nichols wasn't the oldest guy in the world. I think he was in his early 80s. Obviously, a full life, but not incredibly old. He had all kinds of health problems from smoking, and he lived a life for sure.
Mhm.
All the cocaine and crack and cigarettes and whiskey and all that stuff. He lived 2 lifetimes probably. But it caught up with him, and he was honored at his funeral. There were like 250 people at his funeral, all just complete adoration. It was nothing but love. And he will go down as one of the great filmmakers of all time and one of the great stage directors of all time. He really is one of a kind. And again, it is hard to really contextualize how successful he was on stage, because that's a very specific thing that only certain people get to experience. But he was massive, massive when it came to Broadway.
Yeah.
So it's been a great series. As I was finishing the biography, I was kind of like, this is kind of sad. I've been with this guy for a long time. I've really been enjoying his work. And Ryan, this is the first movie series where I've had to do a lot of background
Yeah.
watching and research
Mhm.
in between, which
Mhm.
I'd kind of miss, because we'd done Nancy Meyers, we covered every movie. Malick, we covered every movie. Kozlowski, I honestly was just too busy to do all the research
Yeah,
and
I get you, buddy.
watching.
I get you.
So it was kind of a throwback to like Tony Scott, William Friedkin, just guys who just made a bunch of movies,
Yeah.
which was cool.
Well, Jay, I do want to mention a big key person that we haven't really talked about a lot. And he got married back in 1980. He had three
Yeah.
other marriages before,
Yeah.
had a couple kids.
A little ditty
before,
about
but-
Mike and Diane.
Yeah. Being married to maybe one of the most popular people in news in American history, and Diane Sawyer, and
His fourth wife.
his fourth wife, but the one that stuck till the very end.
Yeah.
And just how incredibly gifted and talented she was, and how that household must have just been just incredible in terms of the talent of those two individuals in their fields.
And I think part of the reason they were so good together is because they freaking worked all the time. And so hard.
And I think that they were drawn
And
to
this
each other
understanding.
that
Yeah.
way too, of just being, her being this massive film reporter, but then she mostly started. I think she Good Morning America and and everything
And
and
And then
World
anchoring
News
World
Tonight.
News
Yeah.
and and so she got to do all in New York, and he got to do all the plays, and he go make off these movies every now and then. But I think the thing was is that they would work together. I mean, they would work, and then they would come home at the end of the night, and they'd be there together, and that's kind of beautiful. And then Jay, speaking back to sports, you know who is his daughter-in-law?
His daughter-in-law. I don't know that I know this.
Is Rachel Nichols.
Oh, like the ESPN person?
Mm-hmm.
Man,
Oh.
Nepo baby. Another one. We
She's
found another
married.
one.
She's married to Max Nichols, who is the son of Mike Nichols and his third wife, Anadela Davis Goff. So
Wow. I
there
did
you
not
go.
know that. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So there you go, buddy.
I don't think she's on ESPN anymore, but she
No, I
was.
think she's on. She on Turner now or Fox or I don't know where she's somewhere. She's still a sports reporter out there. But yeah, Mike Nichols. I'm absolutely thrilled we did this series. This
Not one of my all-time faves.
No, I just was really in terms of like the films, there were some obviously great films in here, and when we do the rankings here in a second, there's obviously some movies that absolutely blow. But in terms of an exercise of talking about an individual in a personality and someone that really was able to, I got to spend most of these weeks talking about movies with massive movie stars delivering some of their best work behind a man that they had full confidence in. And I think that that is something you can't replace. And I think that these movies are, it was such a fun series. And to have obviously our good friend Tom here and so many other guests throughout this entire series. This is a good one. This is a good first series to start off the year. And I was really excited by it. And
Fascinating career. Fascinating guy.
fascinating guy. That's the other thing is beyond the career. The guy himself is absolutely like,
Just loved being a celebrity. Just loved it.
I mean, probably the most celebrated
Until
guy
he
we've.
didn't, and he had like a mental breakdown, and then he came back and loved it again.
I mean, Jay, the most celebrated guy we've probably talked about in a director series, period. I mean, this guy won an Oscar, 3 BAFTAs, 4 Emmys, a Golden Globe, a Grammy, and 8 Tonys. He is it's our first time we've ever talked about an
8
EGOT
Tonys,
winner.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And this whole performing career before he ever took up any kind of directing at all.
Yeah.
It's just remarkable, that partnership with Elaine May.
Yeah.
Again, drawn to a woman with intellectual firepower. Yeah.
Yeah, we just kind of glossed over Spam a lot. That was maybe his most successful production ever.
Yeah.
It was massive. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. He's
He directed Annie on stage. I mean, you don't associate that with him, but
Yeah. I think he
he
produced
just-
Annie. I'm not sure he directed it.
no, he directed it.
Like the original Annie?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
the
think he
original
was like
1977.
If I remember correctly, he was sort of like a phantom. Like he might have been credited, but I don't think he like directed that one.
Oh wait,
But he made a lot of money
Jay's
off
right.
of it.
Jay's right. He just won
What?
Best Musical for Annie. Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. As a producer?
Yes, but I mean, he did like The Odd Couple, Barefoot in the Park. You know, yeah. I mean,
He did everything.
he did
Yeah.
everything you want and then something in life, and that's just incredible. Jay,
Yes.
let's do the rankings. Let's rank.
Let's do it.
Nichols.
All right, let's do it. You go first. Since you didn't watch
I
all
watched-
of them, you
I did.
broad. You watched
did.
all of them? You watched What Planet Are You From?
I did. I watched
You
it this
are,
past
you
week.
are a
God
liar.
love you.
Is
Somebody
what you
had
are.
to.
All right,
Want me to
go.
go
Yeah, go.
bottom to top.
Yeah, bottom to top.
Well, the worst one is What Planet Are You On? That's
Correct.
truly the worst movie out there. 17, Day of the Dolphin.
Yep.
16, Regarding Henry.
You must have missed some because there are 20, my friend.
Oh, there's 20? Okay, well, I
Yeah.
only have 20. I
All
only have 18. I didn't get to everything then. 15 for me. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. 18, 17, 16, 15. Sorry, I can't do math. 15 is Wolf.
Yep.
Next is Biloxi Blues.
Okay.
Next is The Fortune.
Okay.
12, Catch 22. Right
Okay.
outside the top 10, Heartburn. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number 10, Charlie Wilson's War. Number 9, Carnal Knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8, Closer.
Okay.
Number 7, Angels in America. I counted
Ooh,
it.
low for Angels. Wow.
Yeah.
7. Okay.
Number 6, Silkwood.
Okay.
Number 5, Postcards from the Edge.
Okay.
Number 4, Working Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, The Birdcage.
We've got the same top 3. Damn it.
Number 2, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Yep.
And number 1 is The Graduate. That's
All
what I
right.
got.
We're not too terribly far apart. Number 20 for me, What Planet Are You From? 19, Day of the Dolphin. 18, Regarding Henry. 17, Wolf. 16, Closer. 15, The Fortune. 14, Biloxi Blues. Heartburn. 13, Charlie Wilson's War. 12, Primary Colors. 11.
Oh, I
like
forgot
that
to
one
put
more than
primary
you do.
colors on here.
Oh, yeah, you did.
I'll keep going. Yeah.
Shame on you.
Yeah, shame on me.
10, Catch 22. 9 is Wit, the HBO movie. I thought that was quite good. Silkwood. 8, Postcards from the Edge. 7, Carnal Knowledge. 6, Working Girl. Angels in America. Birdcage. Virginia Woolf. Graduate. Same top 3. I wasn't sure you would have the Birdcage that high. I thought you would have Working Girl ahead of the Birdcage.
No, I love The Birdcage.
I know, but you love Working Girl too, as do I.
Yes, I do. Great
I'm
movie.
just disappointed in your Angels in America.
Why are you disappointed in my Angels in America?
So you should like it more.
I think you're just being
It's great. I'm being a little stinker.
You're being a
I
little
got to do
stinker.
it every now and then.
I moved everything down. Primary colors is at 11. Move everything down. Just one.
Okay,
spot.
all right. So we're basically the same then.
Yeah, we're basically the same.
I think the only one that you haven't seen is Wit.
I haven't seen Wit. I'm gonna watch it this
I
week.
think that's it. Yeah,
I'm gonna watch it this
Really good.
It's
Really
on.
good.
It's on Max. HBO Max.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'll watch it there. It gives me something. It gives me one last thing to watch in the series. There you go.
If you want an absolute bummer, check that out.
Oh yeah, you're not going to smile at the end of it.
Are you sure? If I do,
Knowing you, maybe.
if I do smile at the end of it, am I a monster?
Oh God, that's so complex.
It's a very complex question. We asked
That
the
might
right
just be a little
questions
bit
on
of
the
a gust move.
show. Oh, okay.
But I mean, just listening to you guys count down, what an amazing variety of films he's.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
crazy.
saying. It's an insane collection of movies. When you look at other people's filmographies, it is not nearly as diverse of a selection of genre and
Yeah.
tone.
And part of it
everything.
was because he was in director jail sometimes.
Yeah, so he had to make a movie.
Yeah.
So then he did. So then he can make the real movie he wanted to make. And the movie
Tom,
said
you got like a top 3, Tom?
Yeah, I would probably do Graduate, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and then I'd probably put Angels.
Yeah,
yeah,
totally fair.
those are the 3 that probably everybody knows him for. Well, let him do a letterbox 4. Tom, give me one more.
One more from this. Birdcage.
Yeah.
You got to put the Birdcage up there. It's
Yeah,
one of the great
My
comedies
4,
of
only
all
a slightly
time.
different order.
Yeah.
Yep.
God,
Yeah.
so good,
Birdcage is so good.
so
It
good.
really is.
That's the thing. It's like we did the
It's-
series and everything, and you're just reminded, oh, that's great. That's great. That's great. That's
Yeah,
probably not
and
that
it-
good,
and-
but that's great.
and
You
it
know
was
what I mean?
genius casting. It wasn't designed that way, but it turned out to be genius.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay,
I think probably 60 to 70% of his movies are good, and 80% of his movies are interesting.
yeah,
And then there are some real stinkers.
yeah. But that's
Yeah.
the kind of directors of the era, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, when the top 2 movies are your first 2 movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's
That-
rare.
crazy.
That's very rare. But Jay,
Yes.
before we get out of here,
Yeah.
we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed, Charlie Wilson's War. In a segment we like to call It's an Honor to Get Nominated. Now, Tom, I know you're an astute awards expert like myself. So we're going to let Jay here, the novice,
Mhm.
try to answer the question that I always ask him at the end of these episodes, which was Charlie Wilson's War. Jay Ledbetter, was this nominated for any Academy Awards?
All right. I'm thinking, I remember this movie being received kind of tepidly.
Correct.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to think if it got some just like we like Nichols. He's a good guy. Maybe we'll throw him a bone or two. I am going to say this got screenplay.
That's incorrect.
Did not get a Sorkin screenplay.
No,
Okay. I don't think it got any texts.
that's correct.
I'm not sure it deserved any texts.
No, that's absolutely correct.
I think this was when, because Hanks has been sort of spurned by the Oscars for the last however many years,
Yeah,
right? Isn't that a narrative?
that's correct. You're
Okay,
on the
so
right.
he didn't get one.
Nope.
So the
Correct.
only other person I think could have got one was Philip Seymour Hoffman. And just out of sheer optimism, I'm going to say that he got a nomination, but I'm
That
not
is-
sure I believe it.
That is correct.
Oh, he
Ding,
got
ding,
one.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay.
And that is the
That's
film-
good. I mean, he
that-
deserved that one. Come
And
on.
that is the film's lone Oscar nomination.
One nom.
One nom. Now,
If you're gonna
Jay.
give a nom, that's probably the one.
Now, Jay. This is a very infamous film, though, in terms of how things used to be at the Golden Globes, though, because Tom knows what I'm talking about here.
Oh, this was just Golden Globe City.
Jay, tell me what it was nominated at the Golden Globes for.
I mean, a lot of famous people. So Hanks, Roberts, Hoffman,
Yep. All right.
Nichols.
Nichols did not get nominated.
No. Did it get any more than that?
Yeah.
More acting?
No.
Oh, screenplay.
More- Yeah, screenplay, because Sorkin's a Globes boy. And then Best Picture, Musical, or Comedy.
Oh, it got a best pick.
It got 5 nominations.
Interesting.
It was one of the, Tom, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a late breaker
Yeah.
into the season, and it was one of those, like, they probably schmoozed the Globes voters at the time, and
Yeah.
they were a sucker to get movie stars in the room.
When you get Hanks Roberts together, and it was just perfect Golden Globes, perfect storm.
Yeah, and this was
now you look back on it and say, how? But that's the Globes.
that was the year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because of the WGA strike in 2007. They did this via a press conference,
God,
if I'm not mistaken.
bad.
Yeah. Oh, I remember it. Because it was like the only award show that year that didn't get televised, because they got it fixed in between SAG and the Globes. They got it over like the Christmas break, I believe, or like right after like mid-January, I think is when it got
Yeah,
fixed.
because the Globes were the second week of January that
Yeah.
year.
Like they always usually are, and then it got fixed. Jay, you know what year this is? This is the year of 2007.
It's a big year.
This is when No Country for Old Men won Best Picture, buddy, alongside Atonement, Juno, Michael Clayton, and There Will Be Blood. That was your Best Picture. Jay?
It's a good pick
Yeah?
for the winner. Yeah.
Would you guys nominate Charlie Wilson's War in any other categories other than the one it was nominated for?
They can have supporting actor and we can wipe our hands clean.
Yeah.
The script is so uneven. I couldn't even go for it. But
Would it be adapted screenplay? Right?
Actually,
Yeah.
is it based on an actual text?
Yeah. It's gotta be.
It's based on a book about Charlie Wilson.
I'm going to read out the nominees for adapted screenplay here. No Country for Old Men won adapted screenplay. Atonement, Away from Her, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, and There Will Be Blood.
It's
pretty good noms.
That's a pretty good lineup.
Pretty good lineup.
That's a good lineup. Away from Her. What a good movie. Hard watch.
It's a movie people don't talk about anymore.
Yeah. It's like
Shame.
just like the character kind of forgot.
Yeah.
God, I shouldn't have did it. It was right
I
there.
know you went for it.
It's right there.
And I enabled you. Sorry.
You really did. You teed me up for it, and you should have,
There you
Tom.
go.
That's terrible on your
what
part.
I do.
You guys, Philip Seymour Hoffman nominated. This is a great lineup of supporting actors this year, I will say. You got Casey Affleck and Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford.
Great.
Nomination.
You got Philip Seymour Hoffman for this, Charlie Wilson.
Great.
You got Hal Holbrook in Into the Wild. Truly great
Great.
performance.
Within that.
You got Tom Wilkinson and Michael Clayton.
Great.
Terrific.
And then you have the winner, Javier Bardem, No Country for Old Men, for
I mean,
Attention,
undeniable.
which was an all-time winner. And so, truly, this is when like categories used to be great. We used to have 5 actors nominated in a category, and it was correct.
I mean, I
You know
think
what I
you
mean?
need to probably go
Yeah.
back to some years before that where that wasn't the case. But
Yeah,
yeah,
But we have five actors who are really supporting.
yeah, and also they're like
true.
genuinely great performances across the board. There's not a single person in here I would kick out, to replace. I mean, maybe because the quality of this film isn't up to par, I maybe kick out either Hoffman or Hal Holbrook's to put in a Paul Dano. You know what I mean? For There Will Be Blood, which is a truly just an egregious non-nomination for that movie. But
I don't know that he breaks the 5.
even for you, you wouldn't put Dano in there for There Will Be Blood? We talked
This
about
lineup
this.
is like killer.
It's killer.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Maybe Holbrook, but he's really good in Into the Wild.
Into the Wild's a great movie. It's just a shame that Sean Penn is terrible. But he's going to be in PTA's next film, Jay,
Yeah.
coming out this year.
He was good in
Licorice Pizza.
Licorice
Yeah.
You liked him in Licorice Pizza?
Yeah.
He
lot
was
of people-
used well.
Yeah. I think
Yep.
he's going to play supposedly a leader of a racist cult.
Oh, let me picture that for a second.
I can picture it.
Tailor made.
That movie's going to be wild. I can just tell you right now. It is going to be a wild movie.
It's going to lose so much money. And I do not care.
I don't care. You know what? And you know what? He'll be fine because if anybody's ever, I don't know, it could make decent money because it's got Leo and people might want to see it.
Maybe. It's going to be it's going to be really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Give it to me.
No, I mean, it's great. I was
Weirder the
having
better.
I was
He'll
having a
be fine.
conversation with friend of the pod, Jesse Nussman, the other day. We went to go see Bamboozled.
Oh.
And we were talking about that, and we were like, it's going to lose so much money. And he was like, yeah, I hear everybody saying that all the time. What would you rather? It not exist and like it doesn't lose a bunch of money? And no, give it to me. Give it to me 100 times.
Doesn't Warner Brothers can just balance it out with like a animated movie or something.
Honestly, right? I'm not completely ruling out the idea that it gets written off. I'm not completely writing off that it gets Looney Tunes.
It's not going to get Looney Tunes. It's
never know,
Leonardo
man.
DiCaprio.
If those
Paul
box office
Thomas Anderson
projections start coming in,
they didn't Looney Tune Bong Joon-ho's film. They could have done that.
they could have.
They could have.
That's not actually going to happen. But
no, it's not going to happen.
No.
Zaslav's a real piece of work.
You know what? You know what movie I actually think is going to make some decent money? Probably not like a crap ton, but decent is Sinners. I think the Coogler movie is going to make a bunch of money. Comes out in April. No, nothing else is around it.
Yeah, it's great timing.
It's good time. Horror's in.
Horror just makes money, man.
Horror makes a ton of money right now. Like The Monkey's going to do well. I say that, and I don't want it to because Oz Perkins.
You're
you're on my fucking list. Yeah, he's on my list.
You are not the Wizard of Oz.
No, I am not the Wizard of Oz. I'm freaking. No one mourns that wicked son of a bitch. You know what I mean? So there you go. That's what it is. So, yeah, 2007, great year.
Yep.
But it just contains Charlie Wilson's horror inside of it. So there you go.
Yeah, a pretty decent movie.
Jay, would you still give No Country Best Picture over There Will Be Blood?
I think I haven't given it. I think it's either No Country or Zodiac.
Oh.
Of the nominees, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give it to No Country.
Tom?
I give it to There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, me too. Though I love them both.
Yeah.
And Jay
I love
knows.
Zodiac, too.
Jay knows my third one. I love Michael Clayton.
Yeah, you love Michael Clayton. That's a very trendy film Twitter movie.
I've loved that movie since it came out. I haven't been like trendy on film Twitter about it. I've been 10 toes deep on Michael Clayton since I saw it with a double feature back to back in 2007. I saw Michael Clayton 5:30 in the afternoon, and then I saw the assassination of Jesse James right after it.
Man,
That was a damn good day. We don't
that's
get
a
days
day.
like that anymore. You know what I mean? Sitting on my porch talking about the good old days. You know what I mean? But yeah, Michael Clayton, absolute banger. We don't get movies like that anymore.
Hashtag not Mike Gilroy.
Not your Gilroy?
No, he's the better Gilroy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the Gilroy that matters.
I
What are
do
you talking
love
about?
I do love Roman J. Esquire though.
Yeah. What about
Yeah.
Velvet Buzzsaw
Yeah, that one's awful.
and
I
Nightcrawler?
actually don't even like Nightcrawler that much.
Oh,
But I love
okay.
my Roman J.
Oh.
Israel.
Oh, you love you.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
you love it because it's Denzel. That's really why you love
It is
it.
Denzel. It's a wild movie.
It's a wild movie too. It also is like an editing nightmare, but it's interesting. It's an interesting film, that's for sure. So,
The movie is like almost experimental.
Oh,
Tom, thank you so much for coming on this
Yes, thank you, Tom.
Philly
I'm
show.
happy to join you. This has been a long time listener, first time guest.
Oh, really?
Well,
You
you'll have
listen
to
to
be
the
a
show?
second time guest.
Yeah, you'll have to
Third,
be a
fourth,
second time.
fifth.
We'll have to get you back on, Tom.
I passed. Yay!
There you go. Tom, can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet, as well as also give our listeners a recommendation of the week, something that you want to just highlight? It doesn't have to be something recent. It could be something old, or just something that you love that you want people to check out while they're watching stuff this week.
All right. You can find me my work at Next Best Picture and on Gold Derby. And you can find me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at Thomas E. O'Brien. But what's out there now that, you know what I would like to, since Mickey 17 is coming out, I'd like to recommend The Host.
Yeah.
One of the great monster movies the last 20 years.
That movie
This
rules.
What Bond does with this is just a joy. And I have seen this movie 6 times and I adore it. And you may think, oh, I don't want to see a monster movie, but it's a Bond movie and it's a banger. So if you can track it down, The Host is going to be a wild night for you.
Jay, have you seen The Host?
I have. Yeah, I saw that one a while ago. I need to rewatch it. I'm due for a rewatch. I liked it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
But I think when I watched it, I didn't have any context for Bong. I'd be interested to go back and watch it now, knowing his thing.
It's been that the one great thing about Parasite is, as somebody that's loved Bong Joon-ho for so many years, is to see people sort of finding and discovering his cinema and his unique vision. I'm so pumped. By the time this releases, we'll have already seen Mickey 17, all of us here, but I'm really excited for that film. And I'm liking that it's getting like a weird kind of mixed response. That's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Because that's the Bong I know.
I think
You know
the
what I
trailer for that movie is terrible.
Well, you think a
But
lot
it'll
of
probably
trailers
be
are
good.
terrible.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm confident it'll be good.
Jay, name the last truly great trailer that you were like, man, that trailer looks amazing.
The first one I'm thinking of off the top of my head is Nope.
And that was what, 3 years ago?
Great trailer.
So could that be because Jordan Peele is a visual stylist that you love and he makes great trailers?
That might have something to do with it.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Okay, that's good.
Jay,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah. Letterboxed J Ledbetter, Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. Anything I'm writing over at awardswatch.com. Recommendation of the week. I don't have anything that I've watched recently enough that I've liked since my last recommendation. So I'm just going to pick something. Currently on my letterbox, looking at 5-star movies that I've rated. Go watch Black Narcissus, the great Howlin' Pressburger film.
Oh,
One of
Great
my
choice.
favorite Archers movies. Also, some of my favorite directors of all time. Talk about like a psychosexual movie ahead of its time. Black Narcissus, great stuff. I think David Farrar, one of the hottest movie characters of all time in that. He's looking just phenomenal. So go check that out. It has, I think, aged wonderfully and looks absolutely fantastic.
absolute snack in that movie. 1000% agree with you, Jay. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky at Ryan McQuade 77. You can find all my work here at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, we also have the main show that's released every Friday. 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify. We greatly appreciate that. While you're over on the website, please sign up for the newsletter. It's always the greatest, bestest place to get all the news, reviews, interviews, and podcasts sent to you all in one place. Recommendation of the week. We got a sequel coming out, Jay. So it made me do a rewatch of a movie that came out in 2016. It's Gavin O'Connor's The Accountant.
Yeah, The Accountant.
Yeah. The
It's
Accountant,
a solid flick.
a movie that has no business probably having a sequel in the first place.
It's very funny.
Nobody asked for it, and we're getting it. And I rewatched The Accountant because I was like, I kind of remember what this movie is. This cast is truly insane. It has Ben Affleck,
It's got my man,
Anna Kendrick, J.K. Simmons, John Barenthal,
Johnny
okay.
B.
John Lithgow, Jeffrey Tambor, your actual guy, Jay. Jeffrey Tambor.
Yeah, unproblematic.
And Gene Smart. And this movie is weird as hell, is the best way to describe it.
It's very weird.
It's very weird. Like, it's politics now probably don't age well in terms of,
Depiction
representation
of
someone with a,
it's
a disability.
It's interesting because they make that kind of his superpower. I don't know.
That's a good way of saying that, because actually that was my whole point of this, Jay. Is watching this movie, I realized this is actually Ben Affleck's best Batman movie. Weirdly enough, he's got his parents that leave him. He's got, problems with being alone. He's got a superpower. He's trying to fight crime his way. He's sort of a vigilante, right? There's a commissioner character literally played by the guy that in the DCEU played Commissioner Gordon in J.K. Simmons. It's his Batman movie, for Christ's sake. All right.
I guess Kevin O'Connor is just Affleck's guy now.
Yeah, because he did the way back, right? Yeah. Kevin O'Connor, really interesting director. Not somebody.
Warrior is so good.
Warrior
is good.
Really good. Miracle's
good.
Very good. The way back was good for Affleck in terms of just a really great performance.
That was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Very sad. Sad Fleck. You know what I mean? Yeah. I just remember him drinking the beer. He kept going back to the fridge over and over again in that thing.
It was an interesting play on his persona.
Yes.
And it really worked for the film.
It's the last film I saw before the lockdown, too. Right. Yeah. So it's the first time.
I think that was mine, too.
And then we've got now the sequel coming out with him and Barenthal teaming up. And my wife has specifically said, if anything happens to John Barenthal in The Accountant 2, she is going to go on a accountant-like killing spree and get Ben Affleck and Gavin O'Connor, because she doesn't want anything bad to happen to John Barenthal, because John Barenthal is a very important person to her, Jay, if you can catch my drift there.
Barenthal rocks.
Yeah, I wish he would take roles where he was the lead more, instead of being like,
I don't know, that's
killed in the first 5 minutes of every movie. It feels like. What do you mean that you don't think that that's up to him?
I don't think he wants to be the guy that gets killed in the first scene. I just don't think he's offered the lead.
I don't think he's offered either one. Because then he did that. He was sort of like the de facto lead of the David Chase or the David Simon show, right?
Yeah. And what was that one called? We Own This City.
We Own the City, and he was great on it. Give him what he wants. Give him more stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's great.
He's a great actor. So anyway, The Accountant, a pretty decent action film.
Yeah.
Get caught up on it before the sequel comes out, because I bet you the sequel will be just as stupid as the first film is. And yet I had a blast watching it.
It's actually very funny that you're recommending this, because my brother texted me about a week ago. Yeah. Not even that. He was just like, I just watched The Accountant. That movie kicks ass.
It was like top 10 on Max. Man. It was like top 10 on Max, which is crazy. And then it reminded me, I was like, oh yeah, the sequel's coming out. I gotta watch.
And then when the trailer came out, I texted him the tweet of the trailer, and I said, hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. To literally your brother there.
To literally my brother.
There you go. Well, that's gonna do it for this week's show.
And we haven't even
oh wait. And the series. Yeah, you're right, Jay. Well, we got to announce our next series.
I think we already did.
Did we already do it?
Yeah, we did.
No,
But
we haven't.
you can let the people know again.
We haven't.
We
So
definitely have. I think we did it in the first episode. I think we said Nichols and Bay.
Oh, that we did do that. Well,
Yes.
good reminder in case people just skipped over that episode. And thank you, Jay, for remembering that. See, I can't remember what literally happened last week, let alone what happened 2.5 months ago.
Yeah.
We are going to be starting our next series, a month long, turning into the 4 films of Elaine May, who we've talked about a lot on this series already, but it's time to talk about her exclusively. And set Mike aside. Mike will be in the backdrop of everything that is Elaine. And I'm really excited to talk about A New Leaf starting next week. And that'll be a really great series that I'm excited about, Jay. And
Absolutely.
thank you all so much for listening. And we'll see you all next time.